Hey everybody, and today I'm back. I'm sorry about I know I uploaded a couple days ago, but I just wanted to do something. So, today we're going to focus on different skin tones. For this, we have neophyte hybrids as our example. Usually they're a purplish skin tone, but they also have human flesh tones. So, for the first one, we're going to focus on the dark skin tone, and for the second one, we're going to focus on the Caucasian skin tone. So, for this, you may notice the skin tone's already painted. I'm going to repaint them. So, right here, we're going to attach this to our little base holder right here, so it holds nicely. Very good. So, let me just make sure I have the right brush. Yes, I do. And let me just make sure I have the right colors. Let me just make sure. Okay, so, where's my Thondia Brown? I just had it. Where is it? Ah, here it is. So, for this, we're going to start off with a mix. Usually I would use Catachan flesh, but unfortunately I don't have any Catachan flesh. So, for this, we're going to use something different. Or maybe I do. Hold on, just one last thing. No, I do not. Okay, just making sure I was checking. So, we're going to take a mix. We're going to use Thondia Brown, and we're going to mix it with some Bugwin's Glow. So you may be wondering, why do you have to mix it with Bugwin's Glow? It's just so that we have a fleshy mix instead of the actual dark brown that we're looking for. So, for this, we're going to start off with Bugwin's Glow. The Bugwin's Glow. So, take some Bugwin's Glow. This is just a spare table, so don't just do this on your tables. Wash off the brush, make sure you don't get any paint on the other things. Okay, and now we're going to take Thondia Brown. Always make sure it's an equal mix. Right about there, and mix the two together. See, instead of like darker brown, it's like more of the flesh color that's actually normal. Alright, with the mix done, now we just need to thin it down. Little drops of water, just a little bit. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Okay, so now what we're going to do for the skin is we're going to start base coating it. So for right here, let me just turn off the flash. Okay. Yeah, I definitely need the flash. Okay, so now we're going to focus on base coating the skin. So for the colts, they may have some arm pieces hanging out, but don't worry. We're going to focus right here on the hands for right now. Focus on the hands. Make sure you get rid of the excess paint out of those finger grooves. On the other hand, make sure to reach above the gun as well. A lot of people miss that right here. And the more prominent feature is the head. So don't worry if you get on the master's turn, don't worry. Sorry about that. Okay, so with the dark skin tone base coated, now we're going to start off with the Caucasian skin tone. For this, we're going to do something just very, very simple. Let me just make sure I get this off. I get this brush cleaned off real quick. For this, we're just going to use just the pier. For this, we're going to use a lighter skin tone. For this, we're going to base coat with Flayed One Flesh. Now you may be wondering, why are you using Flayed One Flesh? It's because we're going to add a contrast paint to the Caucasian skin tone to make it look more natural. So, let me just give me some Flayed One Flesh. And there we go. Perfect. It's already thinned down, so you don't need much. So, for the hands, we're going to base coat the hands. Make sure there's barely any paint on the brush so you don't overflow them. And of course on the head. Again, don't worry if you get on any other details, you can just paint them later. Alright, that's the Caucasian skin tone done. Well, base coated, I'm sorry. So, While that's waiting to dry, I'm gonna check my dark skin tone to make sure it's actually dry. Yes, it's dry enough. Okay, so for the dark skin tone, all we're gonna do is we're gonna use a good old we're gonna use a wash, and where is it? Sorry about that. In just a second. Ah, here it is. We're gonna use a good old-fashioned wash of Nuln Oil. Now, if you don't have Nuln Oil, you can of course use Agrax Earthshade instead. But I just would like to prefer Nuln Oil because it really darkens down the recesses. Okay, so we're gonna take our Nuln Oil. We're not thinning this down. We're just gonna put this on the table so we don't make sure how much we control. So for this right here, focus on the hands. And this is a new Nuln Oil, so it fixes mostly in the recesses. And finally the head. Make sure it doesn't pool anywhere on the head. So for this, just a panel right here. Make sure to shade everything with the Nuln Oil. All right, there we go. Okay, now back onto the Caucasian skin tone. Oh, and of course, if you don't have Flavorblend Flesh, you could use Wraithbone, but I'm just using Flavorblend Flesh for this. So now we're gonna take a flesh tone paint. Where is it? No, not that one. Where's my Guilliman? Okay, I guess I can't find it. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure. So, let's just shake up. Oh, we're going to use a good old one. Oh, never mind. Here it is. Sorry about that. We're going to use a contrast paint. Guilliman Flesh. So, shake up your contrast paints like always. They're also dry and real shiny, and you do not want that whatsoever. So make sure to shake up your paints. Okay, with the paint done. Now, since it's a contrast paint, I'm going to move to a shade. I'm going to move to a different brush. So, for this, we're going to use a medium. No. Yeah, we're going to use a medium layer brush by Citadel. But if you have any other brushes, just make sure it looks like this. So, we're going to take some Guilliman Flesh and put it on our palette right here. Not too much, just a little bit, because the skin tone details aren't very prominent on a Genestealer cult. So we're going to apply this contrast paint all over on the hands, like so. And for right here, and now the head. When you go on the head, just be careful it doesn't pool anywhere. Okay, so that's the Caucasian skin tone shaded. All right, now we're gonna move on to highlights. Now back onto the dark skin tone. What we're gonna do is we're gonna mix another helping of Bugman's Glow. Actually, no, wait, no. We're gonna mix in something else. So for this is the same mix right here. It's still wet, so we're gonna use that right now. For this, I'm gonna add in some Nightquester Flesh. Nightquester Flesh is a layer paint, so don't worry about it. So just mix this with the original mix. Don't worry. That's exactly what we want because it's a lot like the Blood Reaver Flesh. Okay, leave that brush in there for a second. Thin down the mix. Oh, and I'm using a fine brush by Army Painter Regiment right here. So it has more added control. Okay, so for the highlights. It's a little difficult. Let me just move the camera so I can move my arm on the desk. So for right here, what we're going to do is going to start highlighting. For this, on the skin, just look for the knuckles on the fingers and the actual fingers themselves and along these finger grooves right here where the grooves are. And if you were doing regular human hands, just do them the same way as well. So, and for the other hand right here, it's the same thing. I'm going to tilt it upside down so you can kind of see it. So, right here along the knuckles, and raised areas of the skin. Okay, now for the head. For the head, they have the brow, and I highly recommend highlighting the brow first so you get a baseline for what you're doing. So, and now for here, just again, I'm going to close it up closer to the camera so you guys can see. Oh, and there's a little ridge right here where the brow is, right here. Just a second, let me thin down the mix one last time. And now we're going to go all over the skin on the head. So, the head is going to be a little difficult, so I'm going to tilt it sideways so you can see it. So, what we're going to do is this. So, paint the top of the head, start doing that. Cheekbones. Alright, with that highlight done, that's the dark skin done. Alright, now, back onto the Caucasian skin tone. The Caucasian skin tone may need a little work, but don't worry, that's the best part about it. So, it's obviously blood splotchy, but don't worry, we're going to fix that right now. For this, we're going to do a highlight. Kislev flesh. So you may be wondering, Kislev flesh is definitely a lot darker than flayed one flesh, and you're right. We're just adding the Kislev flesh so that way we get the natural, the natural looking flesh, not like pale and sickly. Then down the Kislev flesh a little bit. Perfect. All right, so now, what we're going to do with this, it's the same with dark skin. Just focus on for fingers, just focus on the knuckles. And some parts on the fingers and the grooves as well. Knuckles and finger grooves. And now for the head. What we're going to do is we're going to paint the ridges like so, like around the brow. And this one does not have a mask like dark skin tone. So for right here, you're going to follow the brow or the cheekbones right here. Let me make sure I get that off a little too much. Don't worry, just fix that later. Here, there's a little ridge. There's a ridge right here. Right here on the jaw. There's a little pain, his ear. And right here, there's a little part right here. All right, now for the top of the head. So this is going to be a little time consuming, don't worry. So what we're going to do is going to focus on where the most flat areas are in the miniature. Tilt it upside down so that way I can reach and still have the camera see it. So. Alright, that's the Kislev flesh on, so that's our pale skin tone almost done. Our Caucasian skin tone almost done. Now we're going to add one last highlight to our dark skin tone and then on to the pale skin. So, for the dark skin, we just need one color. We're going to use a pure Nightquester flesh. So, for this one, I'm not going to thin this down at all because I don't need very much. For what you're looking with the Nightquester flesh for a dark skin tone is mainly just the most prominent features. So for this, on the hands, just the knuckles. There we go. Make sure I don't splodge it up. And for right here, just focus on the ridges. So for right here, Genestealer Cult, so just make sure ridge right here on the brow. And the cheekbones. And for the Genestealer Cults, they have little ridges on their head, so I'm going to paint that right now. Let me just make sure I get that on real quick. And be extremely careful. Has some ears. Okay, that's with the final highlights, that's the dark skin done. Alright, now the final highlight on the Caucasian skin tone, and then we're done. So, what we're going to do, we're going to use a pure color again. We're going to use Flayed One Flesh. So, check up your paints. So, take some Flayed One Flesh, make sure. So, what we're going to do is going to focus on the ridges again. So, for the hands, knuckles, like usual. So, for right here, and the bridges on the brow. And for, since he doesn't have a mask, also the nose. Right here, the nose, the brow, cheeks, the ridge around his mouth right here. And the chin. Try to go for the top lip. And also, oh, sorry, think of the green stuff. And then also on the ears. Okay, that's our Caucasian skin tone done. Okay, so just so you know, that is how you could paint like different skin tones. You can use dark or Caucasian. I just did the two I like painting the best. So the one on the right, the dark skin tone, and the one on the left, the Caucasian skin tone. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you enjoyed painting the flesh on your miniatures. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Bye-bye.